Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for having me here tonight. It's obviously a trying time for everyone, and I think the way you guys have been able to do it to make sure everyone has their opportunity to be heard and hear what's going on, and the accessibility is important. Open and transparent government is very important, and I think you guys have done a great job with that, so I commend you on that. Also, I don't know if the manager, yep, congratulations to you as well as the council. I know it's a trying time for many folks, so you're coming in at a good time. You've got a gentleman that has a lot of experience. I think he was with Waxhaw when I was on the county commission, so it's nice to see some friendly faces, and I wish you much success. You guys are in luck. Politicians, we like to talk a lot, so I prepared comments to try to keep myself brief because I'll stay up here all night if I don't. But I'll touch on a couple of things, but I won't, if the mayor will allow. I'd love the opportunity to answer questions if that's acceptable. So I'll just touch on a few things, and then we can save more time for questions because I want to talk about what's important to you. So coming here tonight, a lot of folks want to say, hey, what's the update? And I wish I was come with glowing news and exciting stuff. But as you know, here in the Indian Trail, North Carolina is facing a very trying time. We don't know what's going to happen, just being honest. We go back next week into session as kind of what we hope is maybe the last time this year to kind of figure out what we're going to do in terms of the CARES Act. There's still some funds left in the CARES Act that we're trying to allocate and make sure that it's given appropriately to folks that are in need and need assistance. So coming here tonight, I could kind of sum up what's going on in Raleigh and just say COVID. That's what's happening. That controls our discussions and everything that goes along with that. And since March, it's been very frustrating because we have all these struggles and people are hurting. And I'm sure each and every one of you have had the phone calls from folks that have owned businesses, family businesses for 3-4 generations, and these folks are going to lose the business on their watch. These are businesses that they started, that their grandfather or their great-grandfather started umpteen years ago. And it's going to fall on their watch. So they're needing help. And so what we've been trying to do is make sure we help these businesses and help these small farms and families that are just struggling. They've never asked for help, but now they're being forced to ask for help. So it's been a struggle every day, hearing from constituents that have just needed a helping hand. What's been very frustrating, at least as part of the legislature, is we remember growing up as a kid. You remember the old cartoon with I'm just a bill, and it's got a bill on Capitol Hill, and it's the little cartoon character, and it walks you through the role of government and how bills are passed and laws come into action. A lot of the stuff that's happened since March has been outside of the legislative process, and because of that, the legislative process, we've been basically shut out from the discussion. And so there's a lot of frustration in our level because we are the representative body. We're the closest to the people we serve. And so it's not some random person in some random county. These are folks that we go to church with, people that we go to school with, the people that live in our neighborhoods. And not having the ability to say, I'm here, I'm going to help you, because it's outside of our control. It's been very frustrating, and quite honestly, it's been very heartbreaking. I don't get in the game, or I try to attempt as much as possible to stay out of the game of pointing fingers and saying, hey, it's not me. You got to go talk to somebody else. It's out of my hands. I don't think that's productive, and I don't think it ends up providing any service to the citizens we represent. So, for example, if Todd called me tomorrow and he had an issue with a VA benefit or something, that's not a state function. He didn't know. He just called me and asked for help. I don't simply say, hey, Todd, that's a federal issue. You need to call somebody out there. That's not providing service to our constituents. What we want to do is say, okay, Todd, let's see what we can do to help you. We'll reach out to our contacts at maybe Senator Tillis's office, Senator Burr's office or something, and try to at least coordinate that. So passing blame is not what we do as public servants. We want to help people. So last year, prior to session, some of you may have been there. The Union County General Assembly's delegation, so we have 3 House members and I'm the senator, and then we have one other senator that represents Fairview, just a small portion up in the northwest part of the county. What we tried to do was get everyone, all the towns, at least send a couple of representatives and discuss a plan going forward. Things that you needed, things that maybe we could work together on. And we had that meeting before session last year. Well, session ended up being the longest or second longest long session in the history of the state, then followed by COVID. So we didn't actually ever adjourn last year. We just kind of take a month off and then go to the next step. So we haven't been able to circle back. So what I would like to do is, after we finally can adjourn sine die this year, that we are able to get the municipalities back, because I think, and obviously I can't speak for my counterparts in the House, but at least for me personally, I see my role serving the constituents and serving the people of Union County, but also being an asset to the town. It's not me versus you. It's us working together in harmony to try to do what's best for the citizens we represent. Because the people that you represent, I represent them too. So let's work together on that. And I hope to continually grow that relationship as we serve the people in Indian Trail and in Union County. One of the issues that I know is heavy on your heart and heavy on mine is the road situation. It's an ugly situation. I drive on the same roads. I sit in the same traffic. I have to deal with these stupid roundabout things out here on Highway 74 and trying to get turned around and get across there and having people honking horns at you and people not knowing how to use it. I deal with the same thing. My wife drives on that. My 15-year-old son that got his permit in June, he drives on that too. So I understand the concerns that we have about the roads. And I want you to know that it's not falling on deaf ears. I know firsthand exactly what we're dealing with. So I wanted to kind of give you an update on what we've done, at least in the General Assembly, to attempt to address some of the issues. Again, I don't like pointing the fingers, but I think it's not very well known, but DOT does not fall under the legislature of the state. It actually falls under the Department of Administration. If you remember years back, there was always a lot of road money. You know, up here around Charlotte, we got all this congestion and roads are bad, but then you could go down east. And I'm telling you, man, you'd be riding on 4 or 6 lane roads and you might pass one car every little bit. Well, that's when it was controlled by the legislature. And so whoever controlled the General Assembly, they directed all the road money. So it was better government to take that out of the legislative process, to make it more of a fair process so that every area could get their fair share. Well, that was the movement, and I do firmly believe that maybe Union County is not getting its fair share now. So we've got to work together with the municipalities, the state delegation, and try to make sure that we get that road money here. But some things that we've done at the General Assembly to address the issues, there's been and these are not my words, and I'm going to paraphrase them, but they're words of our state auditor. There's been some pretty bad mismanagement in DOT. 900 contracts were suspended. Funds, cash balances were over $2.2 billion. That's billion with a B. And then only 16 months later, they're down around $250 million. Now, you would think $2 billion, we should see some improvement somewhere. Problem is, we didn't see a whole lot of improvement. And we couldn't see what this cash had gone for. And I think it's very important that we all, as elected officials, remember something very important. At least I do, and I'm sure many of you do too. It's not the state's money. It's not Union County's money. It's not Indian Trail's money. It's the citizens' money that they've put in our care to help provide services and help provide the needs of our community. So we have to always remember that the money that you send to the state, it's still your money. We need to make sure it's being distributed equitably. So what we did, COVID, just to be honest with you, COVID exacerbated the concerns from the DOT, the mismanagement that was going on in DOT. So we had a couple of hurricanes, 3 or 4 hurricanes, and so that actually put a strain on DOT. But then we are funding DOT through gas tax. So now everybody's working from home, nobody's getting out. The gas taxes have plummeted. So that simply exacerbated the problem that we had. So this did give us an opportunity. You know, it's always best in times of trials and tribulations to try to use that to kind of right the ship and get us on a better course. So we took some short-term and some long-term actions. I want to kind of give you just an update on what we did. In the short term, what we did was we provided NCDOT with an influx of cash, your cash, $90 million. That was simply just to kind of move us out of park, because we were in park. If you remember driving up and down 74, the grass was knee-high. It was a danger. People couldn't even pull out of an intersection without having to, because they couldn't see. So it was dangerous. So we were able to get that money out of the coffers into DOT. So that was extra money that came in. We also provided other financial help, including immediate reimbursements for some economic development projects, the build-in-C bonds, and then more on a long-term sustainability. We established the Transportation Emergency Reserve. Now, what that was designed to do, set aside money for major disasters. We went back and looked at 15 years of DOT's planning. You guys do a lot of planning. It's good, it's responsibility. Well, part of their 15 years, they had an emergency figure. I'm not going to recite the figure because it was either 40 or 60 million, and I can't remember. I was trying to remember it over there, but it was this figure. Out of 15 years, do you know how many years they met budget? 2. 2 years they met budget. They blew this budget out year over year over year. Well, doing the same thing over and over and over, you know the old saying. You can't do that. So trying to establish this reserve in a way that we would be prepared, because we're in North Carolina. It's not a matter of when, if, it's a matter of when the next hurricane's coming. The next disaster is going to come. We live in North Carolina. We're on the coast. It's going to happen. We've got to prepare ourselves for it. We also adjusted the motor fuels distribution formula to funnel more money into the highway fund. For oversight, we now require weekly and monthly reports to of the DOT financials outlook. We've required the North Carolina auditor to audit the department's cash management and control systems. We've restructured the Board of Transportation to increase financial oversight of the department. And now both the Board of Transportation and what they call OSBM, which is the Office of State Budget and Management, must approve their annual spend plan. Oversight's not a bad thing. We all need checks and balances. Our entire government was built on checks and balances, so oversight's a good thing. It's going to take time, though, for these things that we put in place to actually begin to work. And then I can tell you what we have done, but sometimes it's more important what we have not done, what we did not do. There are many states, and if you go and you watch the news, I try not to watch it too much, but if you watch the news or you read about what's going on in other states, many, if not most other states, they're not in the same situation that North Carolina's in. 10 years of fiscal responsibility, living within your means. Sometimes you have to say no. It's hard, but sometimes you have to say no. You may even have to say, it's not a bad idea, but not right now. Put us in a position where we had a cash reserve that we could help at least absorb some of these added expenses or lacks of revenue that are coming in. So North Carolina had a strong economy before, and we're going to have a strong economy afterwards. It's going to take a little time, but we'll be there. This comes through judicious budgetary restraints that we put on ourselves to make sure that we lived within our means. So post-November, my hope is that we once again can get together as a community, municipal leaders, county leaders, state delegation, and come up with a plan and ideas that we can work toward over the next session. I was asked, I get asked often, how was your first term in the Senate? And I'm quick to remind them, my first year was the second longest long session in the history of North Carolina. Year number 2 was COVID. So I'm pretty excited about what next year's going to be. It's got to be pretty good. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for letting me come. I just wanted to hit on a couple of things and would open it up to questions if the mayor would allow.
Yeah, we'll go down the line. Mr. Head, Mr. Morris, do you have any questions?
What is the expected time frame? I mean, you don't have a crystal ball, but for things to get back to a better state as far as funds from the state to the municipalities and DOT and the whatnot.
Sure. We are hoping, because with the delay on filing of taxes from April to July, which we felt like at the state level, we needed to mirror what the federal government was doing as an effort to help people. We are hoping to have estimates next week. I will tell you that the forecasts that we were receiving are pretty grim. The state operates at $25 billion with a B, $25 billion budget. There is estimates that I've seen that were $4 billion, $5 billion, even $6 billion short. So we're looking at upwards of 20% shortage in the state budget for this year. There is a common, I will say, positive outlook that we will be able to have a narrow U recovery and be able to get back into full form pretty soon. I don't have the crystal ball, as we mentioned, but I think we've at least taken the right decisions and the right directions into making sure that our fiscal house is in order so that we can get as quick a recovery, because counties depend on state funds, municipalities depend on these funds, and quite honestly, our citizens depend on these funds. You know, if you've ever heard me speak, or whenever I'm in a committee meeting or any type of meeting, I think it's always important that we remind ourselves, and I say it to remind myself, we look at these budgets, and it's got all these lines, it's got, what this item is, and it's got a figure beside it, it's got this item, it's got another figure beside it. We see numbers, and what happens is we get in these meetings and kind of go through the motions, and we're reading all these things, and it's easy to say, oh, we'll cut this, we'll add this, that's not important, we're going to reduce this. Behind every budget line is a person and a family and an organization. There's somebody that depends on that line, and so we're making these tough decisions. So being mindful of that as we go forward, there is a desire, and this is not a partisan thing, there is a desire by every member of the General Assembly to get us back into full force as soon as possible. The decisions made in terms of phases and stuff, I will tell you, is outside of the scale of the legislature. Those decisions that we have not been brought to the table at all, inquired on, anything. We've had zero participation in that, which is what it is at this point in time.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Todd?
First off, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I know when you get an economy rolling and all that, I know we want more people to live and work in Union County. And I know you was on the board of the community colleges in North Carolina. So I know they earmark different programs usually for community colleges in the area to help attract businesses. And I think I've heard you or maybe someone else talk about this. Do you know of any budgeted or potential programs that might be coming to Union County that would help attract jobs? I think I heard at one time we may have something that's called like an aseptic.
I appreciate you asking that question. I
Yeah.
promise you I didn't call Todd ahead of time and ask him to bring that up.
I got a
Absolutely.
kid who just got out of, the community college basically through the early high school. So, there's kind of interesting with the community college working it. What do you think of what's going on?
Well, the community college has a special place in my heart. Have always believed that the community college provides an opportunity like no other. I did have the pleasure of and privilege to serve on the State Board of Community Colleges for 4 years prior to being in the Senate, and this gives folks an opportunity for upward mobility. And it gives them the training and the life skills and the trade skills that they can have. And so something that Representative Arup and myself, we worked on diligently last year, and we're able to secure some of that in the budget, or in the mini budget that we were able to get passed, is an aseptic training facility. For folks that don't know what an aseptic training facility is, what that is when you're dealing with medical equipment or anything dealing with pharmaceuticals, you have to have folks, they work in what we call an aseptic environment. So that's a sterile environment. Well, there's a lot of training that goes into that to be able to have these jobs. These jobs are not $10 an hour jobs. These are well-paid jobs. And we have Glenmark Pharmaceuticals here in Monroe. And what we have found is that many of these organizations, they like to, because it's such a specialized training, these businesses, competitors even, like to be in a similar geographic area to have the ability to pull employment from a specific area. So we worked hard on getting this aseptic training facility with South Piedmont Community College. And through that, what that's going to provide, it's going to provide the only aseptic training facility west of 95 in North Carolina that's not in Research Triangle Park. So this is a big deal for Union County, the Charlotte area, and you're going to have the ability to attract some of these pharmaceutical companies that are offering higher paid jobs. And more importantly, I like to see, we have one of the best school systems in the state. I want to keep these students here. I don't want them to go somewhere else. We trained them, we brought them up, we've educated them. Let's keep them here and let them call Union County home. So that's one of the things we worked on that I felt was very proud of and very excited about. Now, again, COVID changes a lot of things and it changes the timeline. So my hope and my prayer is that it may just have shifted the timeline a little bit, but we'll still work hard on that to make sure it comes to pass.
Kind of still on track then.
Oh, it's definitely still on track, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up.
Marcus?
Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to us. I have it's a really simple question, but how do citizens convey, and us as the town representatives, convey certain things that we'd like to see? For instance, Indian Trail right now is split in two. We have 74 on the other side of 74, right? There is a proposed, Monroe Road is, budget constraints, so we know Monroe Road is delayed in terms of its construction. But the complaints I hear a lot from the residents, and I see it on social media, but you also hear it from people, is the design of that super street there on 74. Some people refuse to go to try and get to the other side because of all the turns and the danger that exists there. How can we as the town get the state to understand that that's not the design that we'd like for Monroe Road? How do we do that? Because we know the state owns the road. We, the town, we've committed money towards building the road. But the thing is, it's going to further divide the town into 3 different quadrants. And so that's sort of the question. How do we go about registering that interest with the state or the DOT and having them really take it into consideration versus just pushing us off?
Very good question, and I'll tell you that's something, I think about our neighbors to the west. Stallings has been dealing with having basically 2 towns. So you had northern Stallings and southern Stallings, and the 2 would never cross because you basically, with that Highway 74 in the middle, and then adding another layer here would truly put it in a 3 quadrant, or not a quadrant, but whatever, 3 sections of the town. These decisions are made by DOT, and I will tell you the answer that you're going to get, because it's when I've called, because again, I drive on these same roads and I hate when I'm trying to get over here to the Sun Valley to watch I live in Unionville and I'm trying to go to the Sun Valley to watch a movie or go to the Publix, then I have to deal with that stupid intersection.
Right.
These decisions, at least what we are told, they're based on science and data. So DOT will quickly tell you their job is the public safety, and all they care about is safety. Now, mind you, if you go and look at all the crash reports on Indian Trail, I guarantee you they have to deal with that super street, probably 80% of them.
Yep.
But they are going to tell you that it's based on data and science that they're using to determine what type of intersections and roads go in. So what I would tell you, the only way is to stay in contact with DOT, the local folks, and I'm sure that y'all have worked with the local DOT folks here. Stay in contact with them, stay in contact with us, because I promise you we're staying in contact and saying this is not what we want. Outside of that, I do not know the answer to your question.
All right.
The main thing is, if they don't hear you the first time, make them not hear you the next 28 times. Just keep telling them, and voicing your opinion.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry I didn't have a better answer for you.
It confirms what we know.
Again, thank you for coming. Got a question of revenue stream. I've done a little bit of research here recently, and North Carolina is probably one of a handful of states that doesn't use impact fees as a revenue program. Is there any possibility of bringing impact fees back?
Short answer or long answer?
Whichever one's the best.
I will tell you that the short answer is no. The more detailed answer would be, there are a large, so in Raleigh, we have 170 of us. And some of us have these opinions, some of us have these opinions. And what happens is there are a lot of folks that have different interests in different businesses. There's been we've talked about it, and I will tell you that because we are in most of the discussions that are surrounded that are in more of the high growth areas, Union County definitely falls into that. So Representative Arp, Representative Brody, Representative Horn, we've been part of these discussions. We're fortunate to have Senator Newton in the Fairview section. He represents Cabarrus County and Fairview, so he's in a high growth area too. But then when you get into other parts of the state, especially down east, where they would love to have 1/100th of the growth that we have because they have decreasing populations and tax base, they won't know part of it because it can stymie their ability to grow. So what we've found is that we've had the discussions, but in the end, we've got to be able to get 26 in the Senate and 61 in the House and a governor willing to sign the bill to be able to get it to come to fruition. I don't foresee that being able to be changed. Based on the current statutes that we have, the appeals court, there was a lawsuit, it was appealed, and it was ruled 3-0, so at that point in time, it was pretty much dead. It's not, in government, no means more not right now, because you never know, personalities change, people change all the time. So I think it's still something that we need to be paying attention to, because even here it affects Indian Trail, it affects Union County. Quite frankly, it affects me too, because again, we're driving on the roads. I've got 2 kids in the school system. My taxes do not pay the amount that it would cost to send my 2 kids to the public schools. So there's definitely a burden by growth. Now, I will tell you, don't throw any, put your water bottles down, don't throw them at me. It's a better problem than the alternative of having a decreasing population. But trying to figure out a way to navigate it in a responsible way. And, we've all had our struggles, and there's been some things that we hadn't been maybe messed up or wish we hadn't have done. But I don't see that particular thing being an issue that's going to come up in the next couple of years.
Thank you.
It's the best answer I can give you.
Thank you.
Todd, thank you for coming. Kind of mimic many phone conversations you had with me over Monroe Road and DOT and the impact fees and everything. So you answer the phone when I call, so
Absolutely.
thank you. Thanks for taking the time to come out.
I got off my notes, I'm sorry. It was supposed to be 6 minutes. I
Oh, that's
apologize.
okay. I'll show up when you're in session and ramble on.
I will, and I appreciate you bringing that up, and I want everybody to hear what I'm telling. I think this is on a live feed. Write this email address down. My email address is todd.johnson@ncleg.net. Feel free to send it out to whoever, anybody has any problems. Please reach out to us. We will help any way possible. If you're in the Raleigh area, just give me a heads up. Would love to have you come by and visit with us, visit with whoever. We'll take you around, show you whatever you want, whatever you're interested in. But appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Anything I can do, as I said earlier, part of my role is to be an asset for you and for the town. So please reach out and feel free to use that asset.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give you a second.